I got some news today that inspired me, I guess, to cut another video. What I wanted to talk about today was corruption in government, Isabella County, and what the feds are doing and not doing here in Michigan to assist me with prosecution against the police. My complaint stems back to September 27th, 2010, where the Sheriff's Department seized my home and its contents under the pretense of an eviction. Essentially, it was a fake eviction. It was an eviction without cause, without any justification. And where we are today, today is January 16th, 2014. I've been dealing with this issue for a very long time now. First part of December, I went to Grand Rapids to talk to the U.S. Attorney's Office and posted a recording that I did speaking with the U.S. Attorney. The U.S. Attorney told me there was no such thing as a true bill. The U.S. Attorney told me there was no such thing as a people's grand jury, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a long, boring, drawn-out audio recording, but I think it's well worth the listen. Anyways, after meeting with the U.S. Attorney, I went downstairs and met with the FBI. Gregory Osborne, I believe was his name, and spent some time with him and got across to him that I had a criminal complaint and that he needed to help me with it. So since December 4th or 8th or whatever it was where I met with him, he's encouraged me to send me via email, or send him via email, what he needed to prosecute or to file charges. So I did that. I sent him pictures of people in my house that weren't supposed to be there on a date they weren't supposed to be there. Basically from the weekend prior to Monday, September 27th, when my house was looted by police. And again, my complaint is against the police, so I'm not getting any help. The federal government here in Michigan is telling me that actually they're telling me nothing. I send them this information, I go and I have meetings with them, and I put this information across. I take witnesses with me, and I don't hear back from them. Now, not hearing back from them is indication enough that, you know, there's some things really wrong here. Today I found out that there's actually a state and federal criminal investigation into me. So this kind of plays along with you know, posts I've been leaving on Rick Snyder and Bill Schuette's Facebook page along those lines. You know, I forward these complaints and these issues on to people that are in a position legally to do something about it. They've sworn an oath to protect and preserve the Constitution. The deprivation of due process in my case is a constitutional violation. Well, since I have a constitutional violation against law enforcement in Isabella County, the effects are really weird. It's like nothing I say or do is heard or acted upon. Bill Schuette's been given hundreds of opportunities to help me out, and he's always declined. In fact, I can't even communicate with Schuette's office. Sonia Gast earlier in 2013 told me that there was a criminal investigation into my allegations against Isabella County, and then she disappeared. She just went away. And finding out today that there's an active criminal investigation into me scares the shit out of me, and it's a continuation of the intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's what it is, the intentional infliction of emotional distress. Yeah. for over 3 years now, I've been trying to get my complaint heard by a investigation branch of law enforcement, starting with the Isabella County Sheriff Department, then on to the Michigan State Police Department. Christy E2 has been sent a copy of my complaint. She's the Michigan State Police Commander, and she did not reply at all. There was another guy, the commander of District 6. His name was something Nix. Okay, I sent him a letter and got a reply back from him. The Sheriff's Department in Isabella County is convinced law enforcement that, you know, this is a simple eviction and I'm just pissed off because I got evicted. Well, it has nothing to do with eviction because the eviction never took place. Okay, what did take place is the theft of our property. And what did take place is being perpetrated by our police. Now, the public trust is a requirement that our policing agencies maintain. Well, my case is all about anti-public trust, and that's made me an enemy of the government. The local government here in Michigan and Isabella County, and the government in Michigan, Rick Schneider and Bill Schuette, those people don't even return my phone calls. They don't return any emails. They don't send me any correspondence, because everybody that has tripped into the we don't eat our own category and become complicit in my initial and original complaint. Well, I don't know how to say this any clearer. I'm just trying to get justice, and now these people are trying to make me into a criminal, which would somehow, what, retroactively justify stealing my house and its contents, taking from my children, my 11-year-old son and my 14-year-old daughter, their property, and Dad can't do anything about it. You know, that's kind of the position I've been put in. You know, police steal from me, and I'm just supposed to say, well, okay, whatever. No, there shouldn't be public trust, okay? Video after video after video you watch on the internet is all about the police violating people's constitutional rights and our inability to effectually do anything about it. And here's what happens. If you have a legitimate complaint against government, against people who hold the public trust, especially those who don't deserve to hold the public trust, what you get is organized crime, pure and simple. Now, I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand where I'm coming from, but I've completely researched this, and it's not just here in Michigan, it's everywhere. These people are trying to make me out as being violent, and I'm here to tell you that I'm not violent, I'm not suicidal. Okay, but there's a rub here, and I'm the little guy, so I need to get this video out. And those of you that know how to download this, I encourage you to do that, because I really don't have a good feeling at all. And in fact, I've been scared shitless for the last 3 years, and that really hasn't changed. You know, and in light of today finding out that I'm being investigated criminally, see, for some reason, you know, the feds and the state and then the law enforcement, you know, the law enforcement has to do X, Y, and Z. But since there's an active investigation against me, they don't have to do their job for me. And this is how they convert and shift the blame for what's going on. And it's horrid. It really is. You know, I went in and monitored a few cases going down in Isabella County, and what I saw was, you know, people are arrested, their rights are violated, their property is stolen, and they go to court, and their only option at that point, basically, after being assigned a prosecuting attorney, is to plead to a lesser charge. In essence, just pay the county and shut up, and here you go, and this is so much better, and you know, it's just taking advantage of people that don't fully understand their rights, and it's the whole bully mentality. And our counties and our governments are set up to operate this way. They're set up and they're dependent on the operating this way. You know, the court systems are just a revenue mill for government that isn't working anyway, and it's working to the adverse of people's welfare. Do you understand that? I mean, when you call the police because somebody, man in Mount Pleasant brought this to me. He said, yeah, I called the police because I went through the trouble of getting a restraining order against this individual. I won't use names here, but this individual did X, Y, and Z. It was easy. I got a restraining order against him, and now he's coming to my property threatening my life. So I called 911, and lo and behold, the sheriff's department shows up, arrested the man that called 911 for some unrelated bullshit, didn't hear his complaint against somebody that was violating a personal protection order, and then impounded the guy's truck. So take away a man's financial ability to do anything, and then you know, what for? Peace officer, my ass. Really? Peace officer? Well, this guy's violating a personal protection order, a court order signed by a judge. This man was here. I witnessed it. You know, this guy's telling me, I witnessed this man violate a court order, and he's done it a couple times. He's threatening my life. So come and arrest me, please, you know, because that's a really good solution for me. Now, how is that the justice system working for anybody? You know, when I was campaigning for sheriff in Isabella County, I went out and I talked to these people, and I heard story after story after story after story of corruption, of the same thing happening in similar ways, people needing the police, calling the police, and then being arrested by the same police. You know, and people need to keep their cameras running 24/7 when they're dealing with our servant employees. Okay, these police don't understand anymore that they work for us. They're in their own little world. I mean, it's like the ultimate job for bullies. You know, I mean, wow, if you're a bully on the playground, you're like a perfect candidate to be a cop today. Because, you know, being a bully and not being held accountable for being a bully is the definition of a police officer. Do what you want, order people around, and just get away with it. It's scary. It's really scary. And I'm putting this video out because I'm scared. You know, the report I read was a bulletin to all police departments, probably municipalities, courthouses, everywhere in Michigan, saying, be on the lookout for me, because I went to a federal building in Grand Rapids to talk to my U.S. attorney, who did nothing but try and avoid talking to me for, I think it was close to 40 minutes. And then finally talking to me, and his only retort was, did you go to law school? You know, that was his comeback after, you know, trying to explain to him true bills, the People's Grand Jury, the fourth branch of government, and it's all recorded. You know, we need to start establishing this proof, because, you know, I think about it. You know, the U.S. attorneys in Grand Rapids sit in this closed office building. They've got 4-inch plate glass window in their lobby. You're supposed to shove your information through a little hole. You can hear that in and the audio recording. I mean, that's what our access to U.S. attorneys is restricted to today. You know, you don't get to go sit down with. They're too important. No, they're not too important. They're too caught up in their own lies to be able to effectually communicate with anybody, because they will slip. They will slip and they'll fall and they'll hit themselves in the head. You know, when you're perpetrating lies of such a magnitude, it's impossible to train everybody to be a perfect public relations officer that won't spill the beans. 3 years, right? You know, I've talked to Department of Justice personnel. I've talked to Bill Schuette, the Michigan the Michigan Attorney General, Bill Schuette, and you know, through my website, through a media company up north that hounded him for a while back in May of 2013, and said, "Hey, what are you doing about this case?" And oh yeah, you know, friends of mine actually cornered Bill personally in different fundraising scenarios that he was conducting, and said, "Hey, what are you doing about Visner? You know, why is Visner having trouble, you know, getting any assistance from the people's lawyer, Michigan people's lawyer, the U.S. attorney? He's supposed to be protecting us from rackets when he's in the racket." So, you know, the state attorney general, you know, will protect the citizen, I guess, from every racket that he's not involved in, is what it boils down to. You know, when I got into this, I clearly did not understand, you know, how difficult it was or how difficult it would be. But what scares me the most right now is that they want to criminalize me, to shut me up, to do whatever, to show that, you know, I'm not such a good guy. I'm not a upstanding citizen. I'm not a participant in our community. What? I'm just a criminal. You know, fight for the headlines. You know, they need something to publish. They need to, you know, Shelley Sweet got fired from the Sheriff's Department, and there was an article in the Morning Sun about Shelley Sweet being fired by the Sheriff's Department. And I think it was the first or second sentence said that it had nothing to do with my allegations. Well, really, you're going to fire a county employee, and the Sheriff's Department's going to fire a county employee, and the thing that they're going to write about is that it wasn't related to me in my case against the county? You know, it's unfortunate, and it really sucks, but we have criminals running the Sheriff's Department. We have criminals running the courts in Isabella County. Anybody that's had a brush with Isabella County and the structure and the government and the, you know, the courthouse will know what I'm talking about, or should know what I'm talking about. This is dangerous stuff. You know, we've got criminals prosecuting other criminals. Well, the criminals are supposed to be prosecuted by non-criminals. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to work. But we've got this warlike mentality, and it's always us against them. And what should have happened in my case is they should have set up some sort of meeting, and we should have worked this out. But instead of doing that, they just completely ignored me. You know, I'd fill out a criminal complaint and get it registered, get it submitted, get it filed, and it would go nowhere because of who I was complaining against. You know, if my complaint was against Shelley Sweet as a person, as an individual, whom the county had led me to believe didn't work for the county, you know, then I might have seen some justice. But Shelley Sweet didn't act alone. Shelley Sweet acted with Clinton Steiner, and it was covered up by John Tellis and further covered up by Sheriff Leo Metashevsky. And, you know, the snowball started rolling, and from that point there was nowhere else to go. And now the federal government, from what I understand, and the Michigan State Police, the Division on Terror, is actively investigating me because I'm looking for justice. Anyways, this is already long enough. I'm going to get it published and posted. Feel free to leave me comments and feedback, and I'll try and get back to you. Thanks.